Welcome to Beyond the Nudge, the podcast for women over 50 who are ready to grow joyfully, take action with ease, and fully step into their age of empowerment. I'm your host, Kia Eileen, and this is your invitation to go beyond the whispers of intuition, dive deeply into your potential, and create the life and impact you've always dreamed of. Expect monthly themes, transformative insights, powerful frameworks, and practical tools to help you reconnect with your purpose, overcome challenges, and align with your most radiant self. And because wisdom grows in community, I will occasionally be joined by incredible guests, women with inspiring stories, expert insights, and life changing strategies to share. So, you're here. What's in store? Practical wisdom, actionable tools and frameworks from spirituality, psychology, and metaphysics to help you grow. Inspiring stories from me and from others who've transformed their lives and embraced their full selves. And empowered action to help you move from dreaming to doing with clarity and confidence. This is more than just a podcast. It's a space for transformation, empowerment, and connection. If you're ready to move beyond the nudge of intuition and into your fullest expression, you are in the right place. So let's get started. Your best you is waiting beyond the nudge. So, hello, and welcome to this latest episode of Beyond the Nudge. So we are in a new month, the month of March. So of course, the month has a new theme. So the theme for this month is the courage to change, the courage to change. And spring is in the air and change is all around us. So what has seemed very dormant over the past winter months, the past few months, everything sort of stops growing. It seems to stop growing, but it's all been sort of progressing under the surface slowly, and now it's ready to spring forward. So everything looks like it's starting to change. And it's the same for you. So everything that's been sort of waiting in the stillness is now ready to come forward, to spring forward. And so it's that time of wonderful change. How do you feel about change? So when I talk about change, what comes up for you? Does it feel exciting or does it feel a little bit daunting? So for most of us, for many of us, change can feel daunting. We can resist change. So today's episode is going to be about the power of letting go. The power of letting go, because we can only truly change. Everything that changes has to let go of something else. So as we move through this month of the courage to change, we will broach several themes that will help us to embrace the changes that are coming in our lives, especially during these times of being in our 50s. Everything changes, especially biologically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. There's a lot of change going on, and it can be difficult in these times to sort of see these changes and embrace these changes. And so we're going to really talk about the power to change and the beauty of changing and embracing changing as such a pivotal and important time in our lives. And so this episode is really going to be about the power of letting go, because there is such incredible power as we let go of the old and step into the new. But why don't we want to change, right? I mean, I'm one of these people that I quite like change. I am excited about change. I embrace change. I think it's really exciting. But I know other people who resist change. My husband, for instance, really doesn't like change, and so we are matched in that sort of area. That creates a sort of balance where I absolutely, I thrive on change. And so he kind of grounds me a little bit and slows me down a little bit to not sort of take on too much. But I'm one of these people who I love change, but I know a lot of people who don't. And so that's okay. And so we want to talk about, why don't we want to change? Why do we resist change? Well, one of the first things is that we are actually neurologically wired to resist change. We're wired to resist it. Our brain likes um, similarity, and it likes patterns. It likes things to be the same. Our brain, it takes a lot of work to create habits and patterns. And so our brain works really hard to do that and to see patterns and to create ways of being so that it doesn't have to recreate patterns. And so when we change and when we go outside of our comfort zone, our brain gives us off warning signs and warning signals to say, hey, slow down, we're going outside of my understanding. So we're actually wired to slow down and to stay in these patterns of behaviors and ways of being. And it triggers something in us when we decide to change. And so we have to understand that, our brains, it's our brain would literally tell us, no, thank you. I don't want that. I don't want any more of that. It's beyond my realm of understanding. It's something new, and I don't want to create a pattern for something new. So we have to recognize that it's hardwired into us not to change. So we don't have to beat ourselves up about that if it's something that's uncomfortable for us. Our brain wants to give us that discomfort to keep us in the same patterns because it has already worked out that the patterns that we're doing is a sense of safety. So even if what you are experiencing is not something that you want, your brain may still say, well, at least I know that this is safe. And so having the courage to push beyond that and having the tools to push beyond that is really important because you may be in a situation, a relationship, a job where you want change, but there's something that's holding you back. And so you can begin to say to yourself, well, my brain is hardwired for this, but I know that something better for me is on the other side. So I'm going to take these tools and techniques and I'm going to push past this because there is so much for you on the other side of change. So why else might we resist change? Well, there's something called loss aversion. So it's from some of the work by Daniel Kahneman, a prominent psychologist, who discovered that we actually fear loss more than we want gain. We fear loss much more than we seek and want gain. So the idea that, um, if I step forward and if I change, the loss is going to be so much greater than anything I could possibly gain that I would resist doing anything different. And so that's how we could stay stuck in outdated relationships or jobs or habits or beliefs, because the idea that if we change, we're going to lose something. We're going to lose something. And so we get stuck in these patterns because the gain couldn't possibly be as good as all of the things that we're going to lose. Here's the thing, we don't really know that. We have absolutely no idea. And so it's an invitation to say, what if? What if the something that I'm going to gain is far greater than anything that I might lose? Especially if it relates to actually who I am? What if I'm greater on the other side of change than the version of me that I may be leaving behind? Or, what if the version of me that I'm growing into is much greater than the version of me that is still in this stage of development? And so that brings me to the next reason why we may resist change, because who we are in this moment, in this state, is a part of our identity. It's a part of who we are. And so if we push past and if we change, and if we change our behaviors, if we change our patterns, if we change our relationships, who will I be? Who will I become? And the idea of who this person might be may be really scary because it's the unknown. And so we may resist stepping into this unknown version because it's too scary, too foreign, too unnerving, too unpredictable, too uncertain. So we decide to stay where we are in the version of who we are. Our identities can be linked around a set of values or a set of beliefs or a set of relationships, a set of roles, titles. And who would we be without those things? And so, really, what we're fearing is losing ourselves, losing who we are. And so, I'd like to leave you with a question around this. So, you have an idea of who you are right now without the change, without the moving forward, without the expansion. What would happen if you embraced the change and you allowed yourself the visualization or the idea that if I'm not this person who maybe procrastinates or is stuck in habits or is afraid of moving forward, what could life look like? What could relationships look like? Who could I possibly be if I let go of this version and stepped into this new version? What possibilities could open for me if I allowed myself to explore the fullness of who I could become? What if this identity, as I release this identity, allows me to step into more power, more joy, more abundance, more impact, more fulfillment, more contentment, more pleasure? Can we allow ourselves to be more? Can we allow ourselves to be more? Because if you're stuck in a space where you have that feeling like there's something else for you, that more identity is calling to you. And so can you reach your hand out and respond to it and allow yourself to just imagine this more version of you? Which brings me to the next reason why we might resist change, this fear. Fear of failure, right? Fear of failure is huge. If I change, if I take this risk to do something different, to be something different, to maybe be this more, to be greater, what happens if I fall on my face? Well, most of us are not afraid of the failure. What we are deeply afraid of is judgment, criticism, looking silly, being exposed, feeling vulnerable. Because here's the thing about change: change inherently means that something has to give, something comes in. And so there's risk. There's always risk inherent in change. but it all depends on how you view risk and how you view failure. Can you get comfortable with risk and possible failure? Because you're already in a comfort zone. We talked about the brain being hardwired to keep you exactly where you are. And there's this comfort zone that you're currently in already. And so you're already in this comfort zone, but how comfortable is it? And so most of us will stay in this space until the comfort of where we are becomes so uncomfortable that we have to move forward. And so you can begin to ask yourself, well, am I uncomfortable enough yet? Am I ready to move forward? And how we view failure is really important as well. And so this failure, this perceived judgment can really keep us almost wedded to wanting to get it right, needing to get it right, needing for it to be perfect. So perfectionism or feelings of I'm not good enough to do this, or who am I to do this? So a lot of perfectionism can start to arise here. And so it keeps people in my just enough zone. I call it the just enough zone. This comfort zone, quote unquote comfort zone, is the just enough zone. I'm doing just enough right now, which is great. And it might be working for you, but is it your more zone? Is it your next zone? Is it your bigger zone? Is it your fullest expression zone? Or is it just enough? I mean, and on the other side of this fear of failure can also be the fear of success. Sometimes the fear of success, the fear of it going really well. And again, changing the identity and being big, being more can also come laden with many, many connotations of, responsibility or exposure again. And so we can have this two sides of the same coin. We fear change because it might go really well. And then those expectations that you fear people may feel, and maybe you won't match up. Maybe it won't meet people's expectations. And so you can be afraid of that fear of success as well. Another reason why we might resist change are trauma responses. So what happened in our lives previously when things changed? Maybe there was hurt or pain or betrayal. And change really brought a lot of uncertainty and discomfort. And so there could be a huge resistance to change. The body remembers the feelings associated with change. If the results of that change, if they weren't good, if they were traumatic, that could be stored in the body. And so when you go to do something new, when you go to change, there's an actual physical response that happens inside of the body because the body remembers when you experience that pain before. And so it's going to resist at all costs for you to go into that change because it doesn't want you to experience that pain again. And so any of those past heartbreaks or any of that past sadness will sort of resurface as you try to change and then keep you exactly where you are. So it's important to recognize what's happening physically in the body and then take some time to heal that space, maybe going in and healing that inner child or that voice or that space or that energy that requires your attention as you attempt to move forward and change. There could also be social conditioning. And social conditioning says, if I change, if I do this thing, will I be rejected? Will I still be loved? Will I still be liked? Will I be accepted? Or, will I be, out? Will I be cast out? And so we have this deep primal need for belonging. And if we change, and if we change into something different, a different role, a different person, even leaving a traditional job to kind of follow something that might be out of the ordinary, maybe it goes against convention and family tradition or cultural expectations. And so there can be a very deep and primal reaction to being cast out of the group. So this can keep us, fixed in roles and spaces and relationships that don't really serve us because the idea of being rejected is too great. And so we resist stepping into our full purpose. And so what do we do, right? How do we overcome these fears? What do we do with these, or do we just stay stuck? Well, of course, we don't stay stuck, right? How do we overcome these fears? Well, the first thing is to embrace the fear. Embrace the fear. It's a temporary emotion. And maybe many of you have heard fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. So embracing the fear, challenging the fear, really asking, is this real? Or is this make believe? Is it real or is it make believe? It is something, is it real? Is it something that's actually happening to me? Or is it an imagined fear? I'm going to be rejected, or I'm going to be judged, or I'm going to fail. None of those things have happened yet. So they aren't real. So it's false evidence. It's your brain trying again to keep you in that same spot to prevent you from moving forward. So really embracing that fear and then challenging it. I think it's also important to see change not as something to fear, but as an invitation to almost break open like a seed and spring forth new life, to grow and expand. It's an invitation for you to be the more, the bigger, the all that you are. So the fear, I quite often say, on the other side of fear is excitement. So we are always 6 breaths away from excitement when you're in that fear, that nervousness. So possibly if you're thinking about changing, you're making a decision, take 6 deep breaths and see if you can change the state of that fear into excitement, because it comes from the same center. And I like to also imagine, this idea of change as an opportunity. What if you were given a golden ticket to a bright adventure, a bright new adventure? Would you say, nah, not for me? It's okay. I don't want it. Can you give it to someone else, please? Or would you be excited and a little bit nervous, but would you take that ticket and would you run with it? So I look at change as an opportunity. Is it your golden ticket to go on an adventure, to discover more about who you are? I'd like to say yes. And can you say yes as well? Also, overcoming fear is really important, because those fears will be triggering your nervous system. It will be stuck. Those fears can be stuck in your body. So it's really important to soothe the nervous system, to soothe the body. Excuse me. To soothe the body, excuse me, and to regulate the nervous system, to calm the nervous system. So when you're thinking about change or making a decision or doing something different or stepping out, right? Stepping out and taking the leap, making the decision. There are 2 exercises that I like to do, and one calms me almost instantly. Um, and it's if you take your thumbs And you place them sort of under your chin and then rub from sort of like your neck out to your chin. So almost from your Adam's apple, then up and then out towards your chin. And just rub like that a few times. And then maybe take your thumbs and follow your jawline up to your ears and then back down. And then following from your Adam's apple out to your chin. You can even take your index fingers and run them from your throat out to your chin. It always makes me take a deep breath in. It feels so soothing to do that. And so you can do that. I always find that that calms me really instantly. Taking your right hand and placing it on your left shoulder, left hand on your right shoulder, and then just gently tapping on your shoulders. Also makes me take a deep breath in. Really, I can feel my body calming down. So there's just 2 exercises to help you calm the nervous system. Bring yourself back down, ground yourself from that highly alert state into a calm state so you can make decisions from that space. It's also important as you overcome fears to reframe fear. Reframe your definition of fear and failure. Reframe your definition of failure. So do you look at failure as a complete act, you're never trying again? Or do you look at it as a life lesson? So I like to say that they're life lessons. They're incredible opportunities for me to take a deeper look at myself and to say, okay, well, I experienced that, and I might do something different the next time. I like to call these kind of instances of learning resilience bumps. Resilience bumps. So they're like these bumps in the road in your journey to understand who you are a little bit more, a little bit deeper. And sometimes you hit a little road bump, you hit a little bump, but those bumps encourage you to develop more resilience, more adaptability, and to find out a little bit more about who you are. So I call these quote unquote mistakes. I don't believe in mistakes. I call them resilience bumps. Can you grow from this? Can you grow from these instances, these resilience bumps? I certainly hope so. I believe they make us stronger and they help us to grow. And so another way of overcoming fear is to visualize yourself as that new version, doing the thing maybe, you're setting out to do, you're changing to do. And visualize yourself in this space, totally liberated, free from the fear that held you back. See and experience in your visualizations what it's like to be on the other side of that fear. Every time I have pushed myself, I've made a decision and I've pushed myself to just take that step. There were loads of reasons, in my head, even thinking about starting this podcast, it was like, well, I don't know, do I have the right equipment? And, aren't there already 1,000,001 podcasts? And will it even make a difference? And I just kept getting this message, just do it. Just go ahead and do it. And so you will have loads of excuses that probably pop up. But all I could see was, myself in front of the microphone and talking to amazing people. And I just got a buzz off of that future version of me. So I just pushed forward and I'm having a great time. Hopefully you're enjoying this as well. So quantumly, I like to tell clients that basically if you're thinking about moving into this next version of you, so close your eyes and then see that other version of you. See what she's doing. Feel into how she's feeling. Notice who's around her. Because this version of you already exists. She already exists in energy. And so can she give you guidance? Can she give you information? Can she give you wisdom to help you to reach where she is? And I believe that if we're aligning ourselves and if we're channeling that energy, that we can connect to that future version and make our journeys a lot easier. Metaphysically, we say if we let go of the human mind, that fear-based mind, and we connect into the great mind of unity consciousness, we are infinitely resourced in that energy. So visualizing yourself in this future version and then connecting to the infinite mind gives you so much strength and courage to step forward. And it's really important once you have made the decision to step forward. You've made the decision, it's in your mind. How do we embody that? How do we manifest that? Well, we must take action, immediate action. And the universe rewards decision, the universe rewards immediate action because it knows how to direct the energy to help you, to put the right people in your path, to give you the right resources, the right information. It all starts to work in your favor when you make a decision and you take immediate action. So I'm inviting you to do that, take immediate action. And it's also important to have a support system. So it can be challenging to, it can be challenging to step out and try something new. And so if you are surrounding yourself with people who can support your vision, who can support you, who can give you advice, who've maybe gone on a journey similar to the one that you're going on, they can offer you support and mentorship. It's really important to surround yourself with people who can hold your vision when you might stumble or when you might falter. So it's often said that you are the sum total of the 6 people closest to you. So make sure that you're surrounded with people who can inspire you to keep going when you might question, why in the world am I changing? They can say you're changing because this is your vision, and it's our vision that we're holding for you as well. So it's really important, I believe, to make sure that you're surrounded by people who can lift you up and help you to expand. And, being really careful that if you're around people who are also in their own story about change, that you're making sure that you are surrounded by people who can support the change that you are trying to establish for yourself. And so it's important to also remember, as we change, I'm making change sound exciting and wonderful and golden ticket and it's new and it's awesome. But sometimes change can be associated with sadness and grief, because we are stepping into something new. We might be leaving something behind, including that version of ourselves that we have become so accustomed to being. And so it's important to embrace the grief. Embrace the sadness that you may occasionally feel. Don't stuff it down. Don't resist it. Say to yourself, I'm a bit scared and I'm a bit sad about this. I'm a bit sad about leaving this relationship behind or this job behind, this project behind, this version of me behind. But I know that where I am going, there will be greater, things waiting for me on the other side of that. And so it's stepping into that awareness that letting go isn't losing. It's creating the space for something more, because we can fear that emptiness. We can fear loneliness. We can fear letting go of old beliefs and maybe relationships that were not really serving us, and energy that isn't serving us. We can fear losing all of that, but it's not losing. If you know Marie Kondo, she says basically, if you kind of clear out your closets, then it creates the space for something new. Well, that energy exists in all phases of life, of the universe, if you clear the way of something that has served its purpose, that has served its purpose, then you can create the space for something new. So looking around in your life, what has already served its purpose? Can we show gratitude to that thing that showed its purpose, that person that showed its purpose, that opportunity that has served its purpose? Can we let go of that so that we can create opportunity for something new to serve its purpose so that we can serve our purpose? Can we let go of that? Because the courage to change comes not from certainty. I know a lot of us want to have the answer. If I do this, will it work? Will I be successful? Will I have more love? Will I have more opportunity? Will I have more money? Will I have better health? Will I be safe? The world is filled with uncertainty, but what we can have and what we can establish is trust. Trust in that sort of divine signals, what I call the nudges, right? Can you trust in the nudge? And so if you are feeling a nudge and you're feeling inspired to do something, to connect with someone, to make a change, to start a project, to write a book, to go on an adventure, to travel, if you keep getting this repeated nudge to do something, to be something, to go somewhere, to have something, to create something, can you trust that that is for you? And you might not know what the outcome will be. You might not know what will happen. You may not know who you will be on the other side. But can you trust that if you're being given that information, that it will be okay? And it's going to be more than okay. It's going to be great. Every time I've trusted the nudges that have guided me on my life, one thing is for certain: the pattern has not been linear. It has taken all kinds of left turns and right turns and circles, and it's come back around and it's gone upside down. And I've gone on a real adventure in following my nudges, but I've learned so much along the way. And one thing that is absolutely sure, and that one thing that I'm absolutely sure of, is that every nudge that I've taken, every step that I've taken, seemingly unconnected, has led me right here to this spot, to this space, feeling like I'm exactly in the right space. So can you trust and let go of certainty? Because what happens when you trust is that you build confidence. When you take action from that trust, you build more confidence. Confidence doesn't come before, it comes after you take the action. So can you trust yourself like a friend? Can you trust that energy inside of you that's connected to something greater, to be your guide, to be your wisdom point, knowing that there are no mistakes, there are only invitations? Can you trust that information? Because when you understand that change is an invitation, that letting go isn't losing, that sometimes grief may arise along the way, but we accept it, we're grateful for it, but we move forward as a part of the process. We release it and we settle into and we surrender to trust. The journey becomes so much easier and we become so much more. And that is what I want for you. That is my intention for you. That is my dream for you. That you embrace the more that you are here to be. I feel it in my heart for you. I see it in you, and I celebrate you. I celebrate the more that I know you are, and I hope that you know that as well. So, thank you so much for joining me on this latest episode of Beyond the Nudge. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing this message with you on this month's new theme. And I sincerely hope that you will join us for the episode next week. And our theme is living from your yes. Living from your yes. And what happens when we live from the space of saying yes, absolutely, to those nudges and stepping through the fear and letting go of the old patterns. What happens when we just live from this space? So please tune in. We have so much to explore together. And as I've mentioned before in my other episodes, hopefully you have had the chance to check out two of the charities that I'm supporting this year. The first one is Women for Women International, very a cause that's very, very close to my heart. Women for Women International is an incredible organization, international organization that is empowering women in war-torn countries to rebuild their lives. I'm also supporting Mantle of Hope in northern Uganda, and they are a charity offering hope and support to the victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence. So if you are moved to make a difference, I encourage you to learn more about their transformative work and consider joining me in supporting them. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please share this episode with someone who might be wanting a little nudge of her own. Because remember, your best you is waiting beyond the nudge.